Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus have been out for almost 5 years now, so let's go and see how they compare in 2022. Now, I will definitely tell you, if you have the money, I would always recommend buying the latest phone you can buy. So the iPhone 13s and iPhone 13 Pro is probably the best iPhone you can buy right now. But these two are still very interesting in this day and age because they came out at the same time and they kind of signified the last flagship kind of iPhones with home buttons. Even though we got the SE2 and the iPhone SE3, those ones were budget phones. So these ones still kind of live on through the design of those ones. It's very, very interesting in my opinion. If you want to pick up some iPhones I would recommend this year, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, these iPhones were in completely different sizes, and nothing has really changed with the size between them. On the iPhone 8, you had a smaller 4.7-inch IPS panel on it, and it really wasn't a bad panel. I do think, even at this time, Apple could have done better, and they did do better because the iPhone 10 had a really revolutionary design at that point, to be honest, for an iPhone, and I was really happy with the way they made that iPhone. With this one, a lot of bezel, home button, still Touch ID 2, pretty much the same design for the most part on the iPhone 8 Plus, but you are getting a little bit of a smaller phone on the iPhone 8, which some people actually prefer. On the iPhone 8 Plus, we were getting a massive 5.5-inch panel, and this is a big phone. When you look at phones nowadays like the 13 Pro Max and those ones, those are definitely bigger phones than this one, but even at this point, this was a massive phone, and this was the biggest iPhone you could buy for 2017 for the most part. Same type of bezel for the most part, but it's bigger, just proportionately. Touch ID right here and everything like that. So definitely not an ugly looking phone, but definitely a dated design when it comes down to it. In terms of thinness and thickness, you can kind of get an idea that the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus are kind of the same thickness and thinness, which is very interesting. The iPhone 8 Plus is just a bigger phone, but it does seem like it's a little bit of they're both the same kind of thickness, which is interesting. The back, same type of glass backs as well. Wireless charging IP certification, my iPhone 8 Plus is completely cracked all over the place. I've just dropped this thing all over the place too. But we do get a little bit of a different camera setup. The iPhone 8 has a single camera setup, iPhone 8 Plus is a dual camera setup, so really the biggest change you could see there. But other than that, like I mentioned before, they kind of have the same type of thing going on for them. Home button design, glass backs, everything. Both of them feel very premium, and neither one of these feel cheap, at least in my opinion. Now, a very, very weird thing that we've been seeing recently is actually with software updates. So they both are realistically probably going to be getting the same software updates, but we've been getting some changes with software recently where there's been some rumors and reports stating that the iPhone, iPhones with 3 gigabytes of RAM may end up lasting longer than iPhones with 2 gigabytes of RAM. The iPhone 8 Plus has 3 gigabytes of RAM. The iPhone 8 has 2 gigabytes of RAM. So if this rumor ends up being true, even if it's not true this cycle, what if the iPhone 8 doesn't last as long as the iPhone 8 Plus because of the RAM variations? There's always been RAM variations since with iPhones. There was a gap with the iPhone 11, but then with the iPhone 12s and iPhone 13s, they added it back in again. So maybe there's something going on. I'm not 100% too sure, but I'm going to say for now, software updates are going to be lasting around the same time. So there shouldn't be that big of a difference, at least in this standpoint. So that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these devices. The iPhone 8 has the Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of it with 2 gigabytes of RAM. The iPhone 8 Plus has that Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of it too with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one here. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background as you guys can see. So let's get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. iPhone 8 Plus was a little bit faster there. Music 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone 8 Plus was definitely faster there. iPhone 8 a little bit behind. Scrolling out of here. Let's go ahead and do their app stores. 3, 2, 1. A little bit of a different situation we're in. So we'll just go and scroll through here and we'll just click into this one. And it looked like the iPhone 8 was a little bit faster, but let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and get into mail. 3, 2, 1. iPhone 8 Plus was faster. Photos 3, 2, 1. I think the iPhone 8 Plus again was the faster one there. Up out of there, let's do clock. 3, 2, 1. A little bit of a delay on the iPhone 8 Plus. It's totally okay. Let's do iBooks. 3, 2, 1. This one glitched up a little bit on my iPhone 8. I must have not clicked it right. So we'll just go and hop out of this one. Let's go and get into camera. 3, 2, 1. A little bit of a delay on the iPhone 8 right there. So we're kind of getting some flip-flopping a little bit, which is very interesting. It's always fun to see. As always, we have a bunch of these third-party apps we can test. Let's get into it. Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. Again, a little bit of a delay on the iPhone 8. I don't think it's a big deal, but it is one of those things to kind of keep in mind. And you can see the iPhone 8 Plus loaded that one up faster, and the iPhone 8 a little bit behind. Let's get into the next one, which is thank you. 3, 2, 1. And you can see the iPhone 8 Plus was faster, followed by the iPhone 8 a little bit after. Definitely not a big deal at all. Snake versus blocks, 3, 2, 1. And again, a little delay on the iPhone 8. I'm starting to see a kind of a pattern here. Although the iPhone 8 Plus had maybe a few times where it kind of glitched up, the iPhone 8 is kind of getting there a little bit more. But right when I said that, the iPhone 8 Plus did crash into that application, which is crazy. We haven't seen a crash yet on the iPhone 8. So that's honestly very, very strange. We got a crash right there. Let's do Snapchat, which I don't have. I do 3, 2, 1. Didn't open on the iPhone 8. I don't know why. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go get into Temple Run. This one, 3, 2, 1. Very weird we saw a crash on the iPhone 8 Plus. I've not seen an app crash on this phone in probably a very long time. We did get into a panel here and we did get into it there. So it should theoretically be the same. I would definitely say the iPhone 8 Plus was probably the faster one there though, even though we got into a few different glitches. Bofa 3, 2, 1. I don't know what's going on with the iPhone 8. Every time I click it, it doesn't seem like it's clicking properly. Seems like I kind of have to click it a little bit harder, which is weird because I never had touchscreen issues on my iPhone 8. So I don't know if it's a hardware defect, but I guess we'll get into it in a different video. Let's end it off with Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And it does kind of look like the iPhone 8 Plus maybe a little bit faster, and it was. The iPhone 8, a little bit of a delay, but again, I think it's honestly expected, but the speeds should be theoretically the same. So it's very strange we're getting these massive speed differences between these two devices. Both these phones, the battery health isn't degraded that much, so it shouldn't have triggered that, slowdown. So it's very strange we're getting into this specific situation. So when it comes down to it, I think the iPhone 8 Plus was faster, but the iPhone 8 Plus also crashed that application, which is very strange. So I guess we'll have to kind of take a little bit further look into it, but let's go and hit on the cameras. Like I mentioned, pretty much the same thing on the back end. iPhone 8 Plus wide and telephoto lens. You can do 4K at 60 on both of them on the back. I think 1080p on the front. So you are getting a better camera setup overall on the iPhone 8 Plus. The iPhone 8, I think this was a decent camera at the time. Again, it definitely wasn't even like amazing. It was good enough for the most part, but this was one of the last times Apple kind of focused in on that single camera setup. The 10R, they had that single camera setup. Then ever since then, they've been having dual cameras on at least all their main devices that they release every year. And I don't think this is a bad camera nowadays, but I think Apple could have probably done a little bit better. But in this day and age, we like having dual camera setups and all those ones. This one, the single camera, probably could have done a little bit better at that moment. The iPhone 8 Plus, on the other hand, definitely a better camera setup. I think this thing with that telephoto lens adds a lot more flair to it. You're also getting portrait mode on this camera as well, which is massive. We didn't have portrait mode on the iPhone 8, but we did have it on this iPhone. So I think that does add a little bit more flavor to this device. And I do think even though the iPhone 8 Plus crashed on the other application, at least we're getting a better camera setup on this device, which is really nice. And overall, when it comes down to it, I do think the iPhone 8 Plus is probably the better camera setup. I mean, or just a better phone in general. You're getting a bigger device, but you're getting a phone with a bigger battery, better battery life. You're getting a phone that is a little bit better in the performance side, which was interesting. You're getting more RAM, so it should be better in terms of the RAM management as well. But I think the iPhone 8 was also a pretty decent phone, but I would highly recommend buying an iPhone 8 Plus over the iPhone 8. But honestly, if it came down to both of these, I'll probably recommend buying something like an iPhone 10. I think that iPhone is future-proofed for a much longer time than these things. Even though the internals are almost the same, you're getting a much better phone on that device. But when it comes down to these, the iPhone 8 Plus is definitely the better one. If you have the money, go to the 8 Plus, but I would recommend going to the iPhone 10 at the bare minimum in my opinion. So that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.